This is silly. When you bang on the wall, you have to remember you're on both sides of it already. But go ahead, yell at yourself. Some people don't understand anything. They see the man, but not the light. They see the field, but not the varnish. There is no light in the paint, so how can you argue with them? They are probably right anyway. I paint in his face, and I paint it out again. There is a question I am afraid to ask. To supply the world with what? Landscape with a blur of conquerors. To have a thought, there must be an object. The field is empty, sloshed with gold, a hairful thick with sunshine. There must be an object, so land, a man there, solid on his feet, on solid ground, in a field fully flooded, enough light to see him clearly, the light on his skin and bouncing off his skin. He's easy to desire, since there's not much to him, vague and smearing his orders and his umbers, burning in the open field. Forget about his insides, his plumbing and his furnaces, put a thing in his hand and be done with it. No one wants to know what's in his head. It should be enough. To make something beautiful should be enough. It isn't. It should be. The smear of his head, I paint it out, I paint it in again. I ask what it wants. I want to be a cornerstone, says the head. Let's kill something. Land a man in a landscape, and he'll try to conquer it. Make him handsome, and you're a fascist. Make him ugly, and you'll say nothing new. The conqueror suits up and takes the field. His horse already painted in beneath him. What do you do with a man like that? While you are deciding what men write in, the hand sings weapon. The mind says tool. The body swerves in the service of the mind, which is evidence of the mind, but not actual proof. More conquerors. They swarm the field, and they painted flags and fur. Crown yourself with leaves and stage your claim before something smears up the paint. I turned away from darkness to see daylight, to see what would happen. What happened? What does a man want? Power. The men spread, the thought understands. I paint them out, I paint them in again, a blur of forces. Why take more than we need? Because we can. Deep footprint, it leaves a hole. You'd break your heart to make it bigger. So why not crack your skull when the mind swells? A thought bigger than your own head. Try it, seriously. Cover more ground. I thought of myself as a city, and I licked my lips. I thought of myself as a nation, and I wrung my hands. I put a thing in your hand. Will you defend yourself? From me, I mean. Let's kill something. The mind whips forward. The paint layers up. Glub, glub, and shellac. I shove the color into our faces. I shove our faces into our faces. They look like me. I move them around. I prefer to blame others. It's easier. Gang me. Landscape with fruit rot and millipede. I cut off my head and threw it in the sky. It turned into birds. I called it thinking. The view from above, untethered scrutiny. It helps to have an anchor, but your head is going somewhere anyway. It's a matter of willpower. Oh, little birds, you flap around and make a mess of the milk blue sky. distraction. Cut off your head, kid. For all the good it'll do ya. I glued my head back on. All thoughts finished themselves eventually. I wished were true. Paint all the men you want, but sooner or later they go to ground to rot. The mind fights the body, and the body fights the land. It wants her bodies, the landscape does, and everyone runs the risk of being swallowed up. Can we love nature for what it really is? Predatory. We do not walk through a passive landscape. The paint dries eventually. The bodies decompose eventually. We collide with the place, which is another name for God, and limp away with a permanent injury. Ask for a blessing. You can try, but we will not remain unscathed. Flex your will or abandon your will, and let the world have its way with you, or disappear and save everyone the bother of a dark suit. Why live a life? Well, why are you asking? I put on my best shirt because the painting looked so bad. Color bleeds, so make it work for you. Gravity pulls, so make it work for you. Rubbing your feet at night, clutching your stomach in the morning. It was illegible, no single line of sight. Too many angles of approach, smoke in the distance. It made no sense. When you have nothing to say, set something on fire. A blurry landscape is useless. Birds hover the trampled field. I saw them hiding in the yellow field, crouching low in the varnished dark. I followed them, pretending they were me, because they were. I wanted to explain myself to myself in an understandable way, gave shape to my fears, and made excuses. I varied my velocity, watched myself asleep. Something's not right about what I'm doing, but I'm still doing it. Living in the worst parts, running myself. My inner life is a sheet of black glass. If I fell through the floor, I would keep falling. The enormity of my desire disgusts me. I kissed my mouth. It was no longer a mouth. I threw a spear at my head. I didn't have a head. Fox, I betrothed of. The territory is more complex than I supposed. What does a body of knowledge look like? A body, any body. Look away, but I'm still there. Birds flying, but I'm still there. Look there. Not just one of me, but multitudes in the hayfield. Want something to chase you? Run. Take a body, dump it, drive. Take a body, maybe your own, and dump it gently. All your dead and finished selves, and dump them gently. Take only what you need. The machine of the world. If you don't grab on, you begin to tremble. And if you do grab on, then everything trembles. bird suit, blue shoulders instead of feathers, because he isn't looking at a bird, real bird as he paints. He is looking at his heart, which is impossible. Unless his heart is a metaphor for his heart, as everything is a metaphor for itself, so that looking at the paint is like looking at a bird that isn't there, with a song in its throat that you don't want to hear, but you paint it anyway. The hand is a voice that can sing, but the voice will not, and the hand wants to do something useful. Sometimes at night, in bed, before I fall asleep, I think about a poem I might write someday about my heart, says the heart. 3. They looked at the animals. They looked at the walls of the cave. This is earlier, these are different men. They painted in torchlight, red mostly, sometimes black, mammoth, lion, horse, bear, things on a wall, in profile superimposed, dynamic and alert. They weren't animals, but they looked like animals, enough like animals to make it confusing, meant something, but the meaning was slippery. It wasn't there, but it remained. Looked like the thing, but wasn't the thing, was a second thing, following a second set of rules, and it was too late. Their power over it was no longer absolute. What is alive, and what isn't, and what shall we do about it? Theories about the nature of the thing, and of the soul, because people die, the fear that nothing survives, the greater fear that something does. Night sky is vast and wide. They huddled closer, shoulder to shoulder, painted themselves in herds, all together and apart from the rest. They looked at the sky and at the mud, at their hands in the mud, and their dead friends in the mud. This went on for a long time. 4. To be a bird, or a flock of birds doing something together. One of many, starting a murmuration. To be a man on a hill, or all men on all the hills, or half a man shivering at the flag of himself. These are some choices. The night sky is vast and wide. A man with 2 birds in his head, not in his throat, not in his chest, and the birds would sing all day, never stopping. The man thought to himself, one of these birds is not my bird. The birds agreed. Still life, with skulls and bacon, a thing and a thing and a thing held still. You have to hold something still to find the other things. This is speculation. You will die in your sleep and leave everything unfinished. This is also speculation. I had obligations, hope, but in hope negates the experience. I owe myself nothing. I cut off my head and threw it on the ground. I walked away. This is how we measure, walking away. We carve up the world into feet and minutes, to know how far from home, how many hogs in the yard. My head just sat there. Fair enough. A map without landmarks is useless. Science dreams its dreams of knowledge, names it, pokes it with equations. The crucial thing is not 50 times whatever, but how we got these notions. How much, how many, how far, how long. It's good to give explicit answers, showing all the steps necessary and sufficient, finding the dots, connecting the dots, an interrogation of the dots, a pep, a point, a seat, a stone. This is philosophy. These are suppositions. If one has no apples, one has 0 apples. There is, you see, no shortage of open problems. We carve up the world and crown it with numbers, lemons, ounces, decibels. All these things, and what to do with them. We carve up the world all the time. Landscape with several small fires. like dead things, says the landscape. They cannot hurt me. The army swarmed the cities of the yellow field and burned them too. There's not enough room for us to be ourselves, says the soul, just streaming across the plains, so you will have to be pushed out of the way. We like things related to our survival. Soup, arrows, they expand the range of the species. Gold mine, landmine, and the art of war, and the landscape of war. Grant me freedom from objects, says the painting. I will help you, says the paint. More territories. We sat in our tanks and rolled over our enemies. We trampled everything into noise and mud. Willpower, gunpowder, concussive thunder. Pink, orange, dreamy red. I am the fire, says the fire. My body is a graveyard, says the landscape. You're welcome, says the landscape. Cold bodies on the red ground. I paint on the wounds. Socket, says the shoulder. Shoulder, says the socket. Let's kill everything, says everything else. Smeared night, smudged dawn. I saw him fall. Then, falling, split and felled and pounded into the ground. We knocked the heads of the statuary, deprived the landmarks of any meaning. Victory swelling in the occupation. History is painted by the winners. Keep your pains wet. Trust me, I have things to say. Detail of the fire. A man with bandages in the middle of something. Everyone understands this. Everyone wants a battlefield. Red. And a little more red. Accidents never happen when the room is empty. Everyone understands this. Everyone needs a place. People like to think war means something. What can you learn from your opponent? More than you think. Who will master this love? Love might be the wrong word. Let's admit